I already know once you hear it, you're gonna be like, man, this brother is tripping. All right, but hear me out before you curse me out.
Okay, I was gone for a minute, but I'm back now.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy MJ Media back again with yet another video, and I'm coming back from hot Vegas, not Las Vegas, hot Vegas, because it is hot out there. I had a dope time. It was great fun, you know what I'm saying? But I did get a little crispy out in the sun like that. You know, black people, we don't get tans, we get Cajun. Okay, so I got a little sun-kissed by the hot Vegas sun, but it's okay. I like the new skin tone, you know what I'm saying? But for anybody that wanted to know, if anybody ever tells you that dry heat is not hot, smack them because they lying to you. Dry heat is hot. It's like trying to breathe through one of those cotton COVID-19 masks. It's very difficult to do. Hot is hot, okay? And dry heat is just dry hot. But nevertheless, I was able to get some really great shots out there in Vegas. But for this trip, I wanted to travel really lightly because I know we were gonna be doing a lot of walking, and there was also a mountain climb involved. And I wanted to take my cameras, but I didn't want it to be too heavy. So I only wanted to travel with 2 lenses on this trip. So anybody that knows me knows that I have 2 favorite kinds of shots. All right, that is the establishing shot, you know, that wide angle shot that establishes locations and surroundings. And the second shot is the detail shot. That perfectly captures all of the specific and intimate shots that other focal lengths may miss. So in this video, I'm gonna be talking about my favorite wide angle lens to use with Sony E-mount cameras. Okay, so myself, like any other sane person with a camera right now, is using Sony. But it's still very important to note that Sony did not sponsor this video, nor did any of the lenses that I'm about to be talking about today. I did not get paid by any company in order to give my opinion, and I want you to take it as just that. It is my opinion, okay? So if you agree with my opinion, great. If you don't, you suck. No, I'm kidding. If you don't agree with my opinion, that's fine too. All right, we're all just out here having a good time. We can agree to disagree, okay? No bad blood, we ain't no drama, we just gonna keep it moving. So my favorite wide angle lens for Sony E-mount cameras right now, and I already know once you hear it, you're gonna be like, man, this brother is tripping. All right, but hear me out before you curse me out. My favorite wide angle lens right now is the Sony 14mm G Master f1.8 lens. This lens is absolutely amazing. Being a G Master lens, it's super sharp, okay? It comes with other features of G Master lenses like the D-click aperture ring, the programmable lens button, and even being a Sony native lens. So this is important because one of the other wide angle lenses that I have is the Rokinon 14mm f2.8 lens. All right, and I like this lens. I'm not gonna say anything bad about this lens. All right, but sometimes when I put it onto my Sony E-mount cameras, it seems to be a really blurry. It won't focus for anything. Like the autofocus is just not working. Okay, so I took that lens off and I put on some other lenses like my 24mm G Master, and it worked perfectly fine. So in my mind, I was relieved that my new camera at the time wasn't broken or anything like that. But when I put the Rokinon back on, it was still blurry. The same problem kept happening. So I figured out that it probably is just not as compatible with the Sony cameras as a Sony native lens, because it's not a Sony native lens. So I would much rather stick with Sony native lenses so that I don't have these auto-focusing issues or focusing issues that I do with third-party lenses. So other than the Rokinon or the Samyang, because they're pretty much the same company, I've tried a bunch of other wide-angle lenses, including Sony lenses like the 10-18 and even Sigma lenses. But something about this one just felt right. This lens as a full frame lens sees everything at 14mm. All right, it's wide enough for an establishing shot and landscape while keeping the distortion down to a bare minimum. It's like almost non-existent. If you're using this with the Sony a7S Mark III, which is what I usually use it on, then you can use the active stabilization, and it punches this lens into a 15 or 16mm lens, which is perfect for real estate shots, which is one of my favorite types of shooting. Now, if you use the Super 35 crop mode, you can get around 20mm, which is perfect for vlogging. However, you can only use this at 1080p because the Super 35 mode does not work in 4K. But if you don't want to use this, you still have a workaround, because you can use the clear image zoom function, and that can punch this camera all the way into around a 24mm lens, which is my personal favorite focal length. And although you lose the eye autofocus in this mode, I think you'll be just fine if you know what you're doing or if you prefer to use manual focus anyway. And I know a lot of people are going to be asking, well, why not just get the 16-35 G Master or the 14-24 G Master lens?
Bruh.
Well, first of all, the 14-24mm G Master is almost freaking $3,000, which I could afford if I was getting paid by YouTube, which can only happen if you guys like this video, share this with your family and friends and your neighbor that smells like beer and bad decisions, and subscribe to this channel. That way you can be notified anytime I drop more dope videos like this one, all right? Shameless plug. But both lenses were still super heavy. I mean, the 16-35 wasn't as heavy as the 14-24, but they were still heavier than I wanted them to be. Also, the 14mm lens is going to be a little bit better in low light than the 14-24mm because it has an f-stop of 1.8 instead of an f-stop of 2.8. This means, again, it's going to be a little bit better in low light, and it's going to include more bokeh. Now, most people wouldn't stop down to 1.8 on a super wide angle lens, but in certain situations and scenarios, it still looks very beautiful. Also, the 14mm prime is supposed to be a little bit sharper than the 14-24 zoom. That's because zoom lenses usually aren't as sharp as prime lenses, even by the slightest margin. But you know what? I'll take a dub where I can get it. Also, can we go back to the $3,000 that I don't have? Now, when it comes to the 16-35 G Master, it makes a way better case than the 14-24, in my opinion. One, it is nowhere near as heavy. Two, that is a perfect focal length, 16-35. I mean, I've had the 24-70 G Master, and that was amazing. That quality was beautiful. So I can only imagine the 16-35 would have the same level of quality. And it has a great advantage over the 14mm G Master, and that is the fact that the 14mm G Master, you cannot put any front elements on this lens. This means no variable ND filters. This means no pro mist filters can be used with this lens, and that is a downfall that the 16-35 G Master just doesn't have. Now, does that suck? Yes, but with the shots that I've been able to get with this lens, I have been very happy with this lens, and I think that the benefits of this lens outweighs its limitations. So if you're a Sony user and you're in search of a beautifully sharp, super wide angle lens that has a fast aperture and is lightweight, then this is the lens for you, especially if you shoot something like real estate or architecture or landscape most of the time, then this is definitely the lens for you. And if you could fit it into your budget, because this lens runs around $1,400 right now, but it is still less than half of $3,000, okay? Sony, I am never going to forget that. You was out of pocket with that one, okay? You need to chill. So there you guys have it. That is my personal opinion, my pick, my choice for the best wide angle lens for Sony E-mount cameras right now in 2022. Let me know what lens you favor most for establishing shots, landscape shots, real estate shots, astrophotography, whatever. Put it in the comment section below. Let's get a conversation going. Let's chop it up, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.